Hello, and welcome to a Monday morning quarterback episode of We Only Look Thin. I am Katherine Weigel. I am one of your hosts. I am a tiny habit-certified coach. I am an inspiration, and I love football
I
analogies.
was going to say the same thing. If there's one thing I know about you, is that you love American football.
I sure do.
Oh, my goodness. More than just
footy.
about
No, I like
anything
it.
at all.
I like it. But Monday morning quarterback, I'm your host. This is We Only Look Thin, and with me today is
Donald Weigel, your Sunday morning quarterback. I don't know. Why don't we hear more about Sunday
He's
morning
the GOAT.
quarterbacks? Yeah, that's right. I'm the GOAT because I'll eat everything, including tin cans. Exactly.
I love that little tin can eating goat on the Droopy Dog cartoons.
Oh, yeah.
Man, those goats ate everything.
Yeah, just like me.
But they would eat all your clothes except for boxers,
Yeah,
which I
right.
thought was good.
Yeah. They're respectful enough to leave your boxer shorts. I am Donald Weigel, and I have lost about 100 pounds and kept it off for about 4 years. And we're here to talk about it. And why are we talking about football anyway?
We are talking about football because of the movie I never saw called Any Given Sunday.
Oh, fantastic movie that I never saw. I have no idea.
I think it was about football.
No idea
I think
if it
Al
was good.
Pacino, one
No,
of my other favorites, was in it. Wasn't
it
he?
was about football. I actually don't
think it was Al
remember.
Pacino.
I don't know.
If you know what
Let's
it was
just
about.
assume it was Al Pacino, and I think
Cameron Diaz was
Cameron
in it.
Diaz. Yes, I could not think of her name.
Another
Thank you.
favorite.
Thank you for coming
Well,
through.
I think it's funny that we did a whole episode.
Jamie Foxx.
Jamie
That's who
Foxx
else was in it.
Okay,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
right. I believe you.
Yeah.
We like doing callbacks to things that we never talked about.
Yeah, that
but-
we've never seen. Exactly.
Never talked about or seen. But what we're talking about today is that Monday morning feeling of regret that you have over another weekend off your goals. How could I let this happen? Somehow magically next weekend, I promise I won't make the same caloric mistakes. Or maybe you even jump on the scale Monday morning.
Yeah.
Or I don't know who does that, but some people do that. And they're like, but I was so good all week. Why didn't I lose weight? This is unfair.
Yeah, this is another thing that we run into a lot is people saying, I'm doing everything right. And it turns out what they're doing is sticking to a plan Monday through Friday or even Monday through Thursday.
Yeah.
And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they are very much not sticking to a plan and just indulging for 3 straight days. And, you know, this is sort of related to last week's episode we did about vacations, but you know, I'm unfortunately going to throw some math at you.
I was going to say there's no math in this. Is there?
Oh, yeah. No, unfortunately, there's math. So Saturday and Sunday, just 2 days, that is 28.5% of your week.
I'm not.
Which basically, if we think about it, is 30% of your week. And if you throw in Friday, so I'm just indulging on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That is just short of 43% of your week.
How?
43% is real close to half your week you're spending indulging.
Well, and I think the reason people don't think about it that way is that you think of Monday through Friday as a 5-day thing.
Right.
And if you're off 1 day out of 5, then that's not bad. I'm at an 80% success rate. That's fine. But it turns out it's actually 42% of your week.
Yeah.
So the math is it depends on where you lay the numbers. But
and just to throw some more math at you, which everyone loves math. That's why they come to this podcast. If you eat 1,800 calories a day, Monday through Thursday.
Yeah, that's what I do.
That's a pretty reasonable amount of calories. If you do 1,800 calories Monday through Thursday, but then you eat 3,500 calories, which...
for 3 days.
Let's be frank. 3,500 calories is a pretty good chunk, but I'm capable of a lot more than that. But let's just say you do 3,500 for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You've brought your weekly average up to 2,500 a day.
What?
And I know for me, like, I will gain weight if I'm up around 2,500 every day.
You mean like me for the last 2 weeks? You're saying I'm responsible for my choices?
We're supposed to be telling people how not to do this.
Well, here's the thing, and I think Donald said it, but I can't remember because we talk a lot.
Yeah.
Is that I hear a lot of times people say they're doing all the right things. I think you did actually say that at the very beginning. I'm doing all the right things and I'm just maintaining. I don't know what's happening. And then if you take a question like that on the surface, suddenly you want to go like, you should switch plans. You should drop your calorie goal. You should, like, you try to troubleshoot with actually, without asking questions like, so you track every day? Yes. Every weekday I track, but I don't track on weekends. Oh, well, maybe we need to look at that instead of doing something more drastic during the week. Because when we do extreme things, we get to that point of maybe overeating even more on the weekend to make up for undereating in the weekday.
Yeah, and one thing that I think that people don't talk about unless you're Catherine and
I'm excited to find out what it is.
I discovered one of the keys to actually hitting my goal weight and to maintaining it was to stop lying to myself.
What?
It turns out that I was super great at telling myself that I was trying as hard as I could, that I was doing everything that I can, that it was my metabolism, that it was my willpower, that I was just, I was raised a certain way that, led me towards it. It turned out I was just actually lying to myself, and I was just eating more calories than I was burning on a consistent basis and not really facing up to it.
Oh boy. Can you imagine if you actually had like Terry Bradshaw's a commentator, right?
Yes.
Okay, Terry Bradshaw. See,
That's
I'm
true.
saying words.
Yeah.
Give me one other name. Let's just say that there's...
Oh, wow. Now I'm drawing. Chris Collinsworth.
There we go. If they actually did a Monday morning recap and were like, well, we're following up on the Wiles this weekend. They had a great, successful week, but then they dropped the ball and the yard lines of things on Monday. If you had,
I like this.
If
this
you
is
had
good.
commentators actually going, well, Catherine once again left the house without eating anything before going to Costco and then Target and then grocery shopping. She did great in the first quarter, and then she totally biffed it by eating all of the samples at Costco.
Yeah, you don't see a veteran with this sort of lackluster behavior.
Ooh, I like that. Ooh, I think we've got a new angle.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you actually I'm going to throw out some math to you.
Oh, no.
You don't even know.
More math,
If you had to guess how many Sundays there are in a year, what would you guess?
I don't know. Somewhere between 700 and 400.
There are probably, I didn't do the math this year, there's about like 52 Sundays in a year.
Yeah.
And if you go to also Saturdays, that's over 100 days a year.
Yeah.
Guess what? That's 30% of your
That's
year.
a lot.
30% of your year. When you say it's just your weekend and it's just 1 week,
Holy
guess what?
cow, yeah.
It keeps happening. It's like that you can't fight math thing.
For some reason, like saying 100 days in a year seems even way worse than saying it's like 30% of your week.
I know. And that's assuming that
terrible.
you don't enjoy your Taco Tuesdays. We've talked about that, or your Bagel Fridays.
Yeah.
So suddenly 30% of your year is taken up. And we just keep every Monday saying, I don't know what to do. It's just out of my control. And then you're not even talking about the number of years you're alive and the number of choices.
Yeah, for sure.
But if we keep acting like a victim to our weekends, we're going to keep stalling out. And we're here to tell you that you don't have to do okay, well, I guess Catherine and Donald are telling me to eat perfectly every day. I've got to be at a deficit all the time. But what we are asking you to do is decide what you're ready to change. What incrementally can you improve to improve that percentage?
And maybe just examine your general outlook and attitude towards weekends. Like maybe you just think that overeating on the weekend is what people do. Maybe you've just accepted that somewhere inside. And maybe you haven't thought about the fact that, well, maybe I don't have to or maybe I don't just overeat on the weekend because it's the weekend. Like maybe I will put some policies and habits in place that'll stop me from doing that every weekend. Maybe you have like a weekend social circle that is just like super happy to, lead you into indulging.
But I think that's a big issue.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like maybe you're hanging out with people who just like, they just accept that, well, it's the weekend.
Like-
we're going to, eat a lot and drink a lot.
Like the Morongo Lunch Bunch?
The Morongo Lunch Bunch.
Sorry,
Oh,
that's
my
a very
goodness.
Southern California
That's a Southern
reference.
California inside
But
joke.
no, if
yeah.
you've got like, oh, you always go out to brunch with people, or you always do the game night, or you always do the whatever, suddenly it's a weekly incident. It's not an every once in a while thing. It's a weekly decision that you've made to not make a decision about your boundaries.
Yeah.
And Donald even made an analogy about being two people, your Jekyll and your Hyde.
Yeah, and I talked about this on the last episode because of something Catherine brought up, and I think that I have done this throughout most of my life, and I've really, only stopped doing it in the last few years. We have this tendency to think of ourselves as, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. There is the sort of work week us,
Yeah.
and then the weekend us. And we almost think of ourselves as two different people, and or the like normal life us and the vacation us.
Yeah.
And really, it's just all us.
Aw, man.
And we have to come to, and what I've figured out is that I had to come to a place where it was the same me all the time, making reasonable, informed choices, and not being super restrictive for half the time and then just like going bananas the other half of the time, but, sort of living a life designed around doing all of it in moderation and keeping habits in place.
Well, and I think too, that thing of like, the work week belongs to my boss. Like I'm, the work me, I don't get any fun. That's when I've got to put my nose to the grindstone. And on the weekend, that's my time for celebration. That's, the night belongs to Michelob. I think that was a commercial. The night doesn't belong to anybody. It doesn't belong to Michelob.
No one owns the night, not even Michelob.
But that thing of like, well, this is my free time. This is when I get to unwind and be myself. And when we do that and we take that identity of your weekend self gets to do what you really want to do, that's just, you're reliving the same sabotage week after week. So again, it's not about perfection, but it is about the opportunity to create some policies around your choices.
Sorry. And it's about adjusting so that every weekend doesn't become a free for all.
Yeah.
Look, I have small indulgences virtually every day, but I don't, every weekend, I don't say to myself, well, I'm going to just jam in as much as I can on the weekend because I know I have to like resume austerity measures Monday through Friday. Like you can have a balance where you're sticking to a plan, a reasonable plan that you don't hate all the way through, all the way through the weekend.
Well, and two, I'm going to throw another number at you.
Oh, no.
Another
more math. Yay, more math is what I meant to say.
Another 14%. If you're super duper tanking up Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and you're used to a lot of food, getting back on track on Monday is even harder because you've gone from this, you're eating at 3,500 calories and then you're promising yourself you're only going to have 1,500 calories. And it can make that Monday getting back on track even harder because you're tired, you're over full, you've got a calorie hangover. So it makes Monday even worse. So then maybe your weekend is maybe it's even 4 days, which is more than half of your week.
Yeah. You get to that, you go past 3.5 days and you're in the over 50% category. So you might be asking yourself, what can I do?
What can I do, Donald and Catherine?
And the answer is
I was like, again, waiting for that. Like, so what is it?
So one thing you can do is to start imagining that your plan covers all 7 days of the week. And that doesn't mean that you never enjoy food ever again or never have foods that you enjoy again. In fact, I think that it's better, you're more likely to stick to a plan if you're eating things that you actually like, that you just, adjusting the amounts of the foods. And maybe say to yourself, I'm going to eat roughly the same things on the weekend that I have during the week. But maybe instead of one of my snacks, this is actually something that I do. Maybe instead of one of my snacks on the weekend, I will have an alcoholic beverage to.
He's going wild.
Yeah, so I'll do that on a Saturday night. Just have one beverage instead of one of my, other 150 or 200 calorie snacks. And sometimes I will adjust, a lot of times Monday through Friday, I'm at work and I take things to work that are specifically like work friendly. Maybe I'll have something that's better, straight out of the oven or the toaster oven on the weekend that I wouldn't normally be able to have at work. I'll adjust a little bit that way, but roughly sticking to the same meal plan on the weekends.
Yeah. And I know, there are people who have varied weekends with family obligations or chores and that kind of thing. But having policies around again, just like with the vacation policy, in the morning, I feel best when I have protein or I focus on lighter foods so that I don't get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
You know what you did last weekend. Hopefully, you know what you did last weekend.
You know what you did last summer.
If you know you're going to go to Costco and Target and Walmart to pick up stuff, you know that you're going to be hungry halfway through. So maybe it's an opportunity to eat before you leave. It might not be, or you might say oh, I never know what's going to happen. You know what? You know you're going to get hungry. So how can you be proactive in planning for things, even if it's on the go, that fit into your plan?
And also, I do this thing where anytime I have an opportunity to eat out, I feel like I have to eat. I have to get the appetizer and the entree and the dessert and the drinks.
Worth.
And, because I never know when I'm going to have another opportunity to eat out. And, guess what? I've got all the opportunities to eat out. And so eating out can just be eating outside the home.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, I'm going to indulge in everything on the menu. It doesn't have to be I'm getting my money's worth. And I'm saying that in air quotes. It's not about money, but it's sort of well, if I'm going to eat out, I'm going to really eat out.
Well, and that's the thing. I would do I'm not going to get a salad because I could do that at home. Guess what? I'm not going to make a salad at home.
Right.
But it is a difference between a true indulgence on an important holiday or something that's really special versus the benefit of me eating out is that I don't have to do dishes. I don't have to do meal prep. The kitchen is clean. Someone else is cooking for me, but I can eat something reasonable. It doesn't have to be 100% party for every time I'm eating out.
And adjusting your mindset around that and, more importantly, your actual actions around it, can be one of the keys to maintaining your plan 7 days a week.
Well, and you know what? I'm going to call out. I'm going to say something you don't even know I'm saying.
Oh boy.
Here it comes. Are you ready?
I don't know.
I don't want to, if you're listening to this podcast, I don't want anyone to ever say, but there's free chips. You're not, if you're going out to a restaurant and you're going to drop $100 for, a party of 3 to go and eat, it's not, if you're in the mood, if you're well, we can only go to a place that has free chips. If they're on free chips, we can't even afford to go out. Nothing free is free. They are complimentary because they know that you're going to eat them. But if the chips cost $10, you'd still order them. You're not going for the free stuff. You're a grown up.
And they may not cost you in money, but they may cost you in regret and weight gain and shame and all kinds of other things if you find yourself just, trying to get your money's worth out of the free chips.
Just be honest. You're going for the chips and you like the chips and using that, it's not, just don't. Anyway, I'm very fired up about this subject.
Yeah, for
Even
sure.
Your bread baskets also, that's a big thing.
Yeah, that's another one. Speaking of sports, hit you in the bread basket.
What does that mean?
Sports, sort of like when you get hit in the stomach area. Yeah,
interesting.
Hit in the bread basket.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. It's not like the most common expression.
No, but I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it to in the future when we're watching the footballs together.
Sounds good. Another thing to think about is I think a lot of people, and I'm certainly guilty of this, go into the weekend and you have a structure Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday. And so you're able to really plan all of your moments. You're able to plan when you're going to have your snacks, when you're going to eat your lunch, what you're going to take, what you're going to bring. And then you go into the weekend without a plan. And you're just, free floating. You're a leaf on the wind, and you find yourself going I don't know what to do. I guess I'd better eat this indulgent takeout meal, or I guess I'd better, eat this thing I have in the fridge that's more calories than I want. And it really involves doing some planning. Like the whole, one of the major keys to successfully hitting and maintaining goal weight is to actually do some planning. And plan your weekends just like you plan your Monday through Friday. Now, I'm not saying you have to, structure out every minute, but at least don't go into the weekend going like, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to, eat things as they come up.
Yeah. But part of that is, you go to the same restaurants all the time.
Right.
Many restaurants have calories on the menus. If they don't, if you're going to a local place, you can look up a similar chain restaurant and see what theirs are. You can even just log in your tracker that a dinner out is 1,500 calories and walk away from it and just know that you don't know what it is, but you're putting something in place. Because like Donald didn't say it, I did. There are like 52 Sundays in a year.
Yeah.
Like, figure it out. Sorry, I'm so mean. But I used to just be like, there's nothing I can do about it. Like, it's always crazy. I just have no idea.
Yeah. And look, another thing to do, and I know this is hard for a lot of people, but consider grocery shopping more often, or having groceries delivered on a Friday so that you're not going into the weekend with nothing to eat, at home, or with nothing but the indulgent, like, frozen cheesecake that you left in the freezer, for some reason.
Yeah. I saw one at Trader Joe's the other day and I said, not today, not today.
But, actually try and keep, stock up on things that either aren't going to go bad, or actually plan ahead and, Thursday, Friday, get that grocery delivery, go actually grocery shop so that you have things that are part of your plan around, so that you're not, again, turning to takeout when you're frustrated and tired, or you've had a drink or two on the weekend and you're just throwing caution to the wind. Don't let yourself get into that position in the first place.
Well, and two, I think a lot of people, just going back to the beginning of thinking like, well, I need to do all or nothing. If you can buy back 2 meals on a weekend and make them in your control, you can save thousands of calories. If you decide, if your weekend is usually I indulge Friday, Saturday, Sunday for dinners, maybe you can cut it back to 2 more indulgent meals and 1 more controlled. Taking back Sunday is a really great way to start your week fresh. Some calendars even start with Sunday. It's crazy. But if you decide...
Whoa.
I know.
Hold on. I can't. I'm still reeling from the idea. Yeah.
No, but if you're saying like, well, I go out to pubs 3 days a week, maybe make it 2 days a week. If you have 3 indulgent takeout meals, make it 2 indulgent takeout meals. If you have, you know what numbers are, reduce it by 1. Take back a meal, take back Sunday evening. If you can do that, you're making progress. And once that feels normal, maybe take back another meal. Maybe stick, like to having policies about I always eat a protein breakfast. I only have cocktails on Friday and Saturday night instead of Sunday too. Just pull it back a little bit. This isn't about like, well, no, I can't have fun with everybody in the whole world. I don't know. Everybody talks like that. It's not about, just suddenly, okay, you can't have fun. You can't enjoy things, but just pull back a little bit because it does matter.
Yeah. And another mindset shift to be aware of is to try and start recognizing the difference between I worked too hard this week, I deserve this.
Yeah.
Versus I'm just bored and I want to eat all the food. And really ask yourself, again, are you just lying yourself into, being able to eat whatever you want because you want an excuse? I had a hard week, so I'm going to indulge in all the food, is very different from I just want an excuse to indulge in all the food, so I'm going to use my work week as that excuse.
Well, and two, I know that there are people with lots of different circumstances. There are people who don't actually have Saturday, Sunday weekends, who maybe have a midday week, whatever the weekend means to you. You'd be like, but Dawn and Catherine, I have Wednesdays off. Like, okay, so then set it for that. But I know that something I've seen, we did episodes about it, but there are some people who work from home who say, oh, if only I worked in an office, then I would have control over my food. There are people who say, if only I worked from home, then I could have control. There are people who thrive on weekends, but their weekdays are hard. Like whatever your circumstances, know that there are people out there saying, if only I didn't have to take my kids to soccer practice, then I could control. There are people who say, if only I was busier, then I wouldn't be as bored and I wouldn't eat. If only I wasn't so bored, whatever the opposite is.
Yeah, like you're not one magical change in your life away from being a brand new person.
That's a good one.
You are still if you suddenly were super busy, you're still the same person who likes to eat all the food. You're just a super busy person who likes to eat all the food. Or if you're the person who suddenly didn't have to take your kids to soccer practice, you would still be the same person who likes all the food just without the soccer practice drop off. Like that one change isn't going to magically fix all of your eating and exercise habits.
Can I make a real life example of myself?
Yeah.
So our daughter goes to school a little bit far away from our home, and I said to myself many days, if I didn't have to drive her to school, then my time will free up. I haven't driven that kid to school in 2 weeks. And guess what? I am not a new person, it turns out, unless you put the habits in place. And seasons change. People change. Sorry, I was trying to make a song reference. Another song that I don't like. I like talking about things I don't like.
But I think what we're trying to say in the middle of bringing up song references is that you are an adult who is capable of making hard choices.
Yep.
And that part of this is that you really have to own those choices and realize that you're not just a victim of circumstance. Like the weekend doesn't just come up and you're suddenly reeling into madness because it's a Saturday or a Sunday. You're designing that madness into your life.
Exactly. Ooh, can I make a fun thing for the weekend too?
I hope you do.
Okay. So you know how we used to be like, well, I don't have time to work out on weekdays because I am very busy at my job.
Right.
And then you're like, well, you could just work out on the weekend. And then it's like, oh, but that won't make any difference. Guess what? That's already 28% of your week. If you can work out on that, flip it and do.
You're almost at 30% of your year if you do that 100 days a year.
Whoa, you're throwing my math right back in my face.
I am.
But it really matters. If you can get some extra structure on your weekend by taking a class, those 2 days really do matter to your health if you can capture that time back. And once we stop seeing things as 5 days a week, 2 days a week, whatever, it's 7 days. If we can look at that as just a continuum of choices and moderate throughout, it's much easier for me to eat moderately, eat in ways that I feel my best, and then make those small indulgences on the weekend, put some policies in place around when I overeat, when I have alcohol. It matters to sustaining a healthy lifestyle. This isn't about getting to the goal weight and then being able to go back to eating, everything all of the time, because I know what happens when that happens to me.
Absolutely.
So we are going to hammer it home with the same questions we asked when we did the vacation episode. How can you sneak in activity, some daily non-exercise activity thermogenesis? How can you pump up the volume? How can you doctor dishes that you have out to make them more pleasing? How can you set some boundaries with the people you are around?
Yep.
What can you do ahead of time to set yourself up for success before you go out starving and, magically I got to overeat it. I don't know what to do. You know what you're doing. You eat every day. That's what people do. And then what boundaries or policies can you put in place around breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and alcohol to set yourself up for success? Buying back a day, buying back a meal of your week really does matter in seeing progress on the scale. If you're stuck or if you're gaining, it's a choice, and you have the opportunity to take an action that will help you toward your goal instead of putting you in the red zone.
Yeah.
No, the red zone's a good thing.
Yeah, the red zone's
What's
a good
bad
thing?
The penalty box.
Sure.
What's a flag?
The famous penalty box in football.
What's a bad thing in football?
A flag, sure, a penalty. I mean, there are penalties, but there's no penalty box.
Okay, so what can you do? Football reference?
Yes, football reference. Touchdown. And you've scored a touchdown by listening to this show.
Yay!
And we thank you very much for listening. We appreciate each and every one of you. I really do. I know I say that at the end of the episode, but I genuinely, I am really grateful. Anytime somebody reaches out to us and tells us that they enjoy the show and that it's actually made a difference to them, I mean, it is why we do this. We're doing it because we're hoping that we can help other people do what Catherine and I have done. And it really makes us feel good. As selfishly, it makes us feel good to help you accomplish your goals. And if you would like to listen to other episodes of this show, you can find them wherever you found this one. Also, you can find them anytime on our website at weonlylookthin.com.
Yep, and if you are at our website, you can click on the link for Join Our Support Group and find out more about Wolt Place, We Only Look Thin Place. It is a Facebook-based accountability group for women. It is not a weight loss plan, but it is a place for accountability, check-ins, honesty, and we do Zooms each week talking about subjects just like this. We do a newsletter. It's just a wonderful group of women. It's kind, it's accepting, and I'm super proud of it. So you can find out more about our 2 subscription options. We have a monthly subscription with a 3-day complimentary trial and a 3-month subscription with a 7-day complimentary trial to see if Wolt Place is right for you.
So check it out. And also, you can check us out on social media. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter at We Only Look Thin. Or if you would like to find yourselves in our email inbox, you can send us an email to weonlylookthin@gmail.com. We appreciate episode suggestions. We have turned listener questions into episodes of this show. We haven't done that in a while, actually. We will answer your questions eventually, but you can contact us that way.
And you know what? Before we go forward, I'm actually going to give a shout out to a new listener who found us, Clary. That's all I'll say. Clary found us and said that they are a new listener to the podcast, that we're an Inspiration Nation.
Welcome.
Not wrong. They're definitely right.
No, definitely right.
But it's honestly just sort of crazy to us that we are still getting new fans, new listeners all these years later. So we truly appreciate any new listener who's giving us a try. It means so much to know that we are a part of your weight loss journey. And speaking of which, if you're a listener and have a couple of extra minutes and can head over to Apple Podcast and leave us a rating and a review, not only does it help people like Clary find us, but it also warms the cockles of our hearts. Very important in this season. But it really does boost us in the ratings when people are looking for us. So if you could head over there, it would mean quite a lot.
Absolutely. And another thing you could do is just tell people about the show. If you are in around somebody who you think might enjoy the show, if you know somebody, suggest it. If it comes up in conversation, one of the best ways that the show grows is from word of mouth, and we appreciate you talking about us.
Yep.
So if you're still confused about whether Michelob owns the night or no one does, just remember that Catherine and I are an inspiration. The information that you hear on this podcast is for informational purposes only. The hosts are not medical professionals. You should always consult with your doctor, nurse, or other certified health professional before beginning any diet or fitness program.